They boarded the Regal Express under the glow of station lights. Two federal inspectors disguised as ordinary travelers. Their mission was simple: uncover quiet acts of discrimination hidden behind polished manners. What they didn't expect was to become the evidence themselves before the train reached its next stop. It had started like any other morning. Miles Darden adjusted his tie in the reflection of the window, the faint outline of pine trees flickering past his shoulder. Across from him, Alana, his wife and work partner, reviewed her small leather notebook, filled with coded notes. Both wore the quiet confidence of people who had seen the world at its best and its worst. They were inspectors with the National Transportation Board, assigned a discreet mission: investigate whispers of discrimination on the Regal Express, the country's most luxurious cross-country train. Complaints had trickled in for months. First-class passengers of color being moved, ignored, or humiliated. Nothing conclusive, no names, just rumors. Until now. Miles leaned back, whispering, "We blend in. We observe. No badges, no names. Just passengers." Alana smiled faintly. "And if someone crosses the line—" He met her eyes. "We let them dig their own grave." The train shuddered slightly as it entered a tunnel. A low hum filled the air, and the golden lights overhead reflected on the polished brass fixtures. Attendants in navy uniforms floated between rows, offering champagne and smiles. Then she appeared. Olivia Crane, senior steward of the Regal Express. Perfect posture, hair pinned like a museum piece. Her smile, thin and calculated, didn't reach her eyes. "Good morning," she said, her tone bright and rehearsed. She greeted the first row. Two businessmen with leather briefcases. Then the second, where a family of tourists took selfies. When she reached Miles and Alana, her expression shifted. Just a flicker, but sharp enough to cut glass. "Sir, ma'am," she began, eyes narrowing slightly. "May I see your tickets, please?" Miles offered them politely. "Of course." She scanned them, paused. "These are for first class." "Yes," Alana said evenly. Olivia's smile tightened. "I see. You must have upgraded recently?" "No," Miles replied. "We booked them weeks ago." A small silence stretched between them, heavy with things unspoken. Other passengers glanced over, curious. Olivia's gaze flicked to their luggage. Standard NTB issue, black, discreet, then back to their faces. "I'll just double-check something with the office," she said finally, and disappeared down the aisle. Miles exhaled slowly. That didn't take long. 3 minutes, Alana said. Record time. They didn't need to say more. They'd seen that look before, in airports, hotels, boardrooms, the kind that asked a question without using words. "Do you really belong here?" 10 minutes later, Olivia returned with a younger attendant trailing behind her. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice dripping with performative courtesy. "It seems there's been a mistake in our system. These seats are reserved for premium platinum travelers. You'll need to move to standard first class." Miles kept his tone calm. "These are our assigned seats." Olivia blinked, then smiled like someone explaining math to a child. "Sir, I'm sure it's confusing, but our policy is very clear." "Policy?" Alana interrupted softly. "Shouldn't depend on who's sitting down." The younger attendant looked uneasy. A few passengers had started recording on their phones. Olivia's voice sharpened. "Ma'am, I'm asking you politely. Please collect your things." Miles folded his arms. "No." That one word hit harder than a shout. The sound of the train wheels grew louder, clattering like a drumbeat under their feet. Olivia's mask cracked, the polite smile giving way to something raw, defensive. She turned to her assistant. "Call security." The assistant hesitated. "Ma'am, maybe now." Moments later, a conductor in a dark gray coat appeared. His badge caught the light as he approached, confusion in his eyes. "What seems to be the issue here?" Olivia launched into her version. Fake smiles, exaggerated gestures. "These passengers are in the wrong section. They refuse to cooperate." The conductor frowned. "Tickets, please." Miles handed them over again. The man studied them, flipped them twice, then glanced at Olivia. These are legitimate. Platinum confirmed, Olivia's face drained of color. That can't be right. It is, the conductor said quietly. System must have updated late. He turned to Miles and Alana. My apologies for the misunderstanding. Miles gave a small nod. Thank you, but Alana didn't look away. She kept her gaze locked on Olivia. Not angry, just steady, like someone memorizing a truth for later. The conductor left. Olivia stood frozen, caught between embarrassment and fury. Then, with a brittle smile, she muttered, "Enjoy your trip," and vanished into the galley. For the next hour, silence hung between Miles and Alana. The scenery blurred outside, snowfields, telephone poles, towns that came and went like ghosts. Finally, Alana spoke. "We've got our confirmation." Miles nodded. "And a witness." He pointed discreetly to a young woman across the aisle who was still holding her phone, the camera light blinking red. She mouthed, "I got it all." Alana leaned back, a quiet resolve settling in her eyes. "Then let's finish what we started." Outside, the train crossed a frozen bridge, steel groaning under its weight, and somewhere deep in the belly of the Regal Express, a secret investigation had just begun. By morning, the Regal Express was slicing through open prairie, its silver body flashing under the sun. Passengers sipped coffee, read papers, and chatted about politics. But under that civilized surface, tension was tightening like a wire. Miles woke early. He found Alana already at the observation window, writing notes in her book. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. She shook her head. "Kept hearing her voice," she murmured. That tone. Like she owned the air we breathed. He smiled faintly. "Let's not let one steward ruin our assignment." But both knew it wasn't just one steward. It was a system that let arrogance bloom behind polished uniforms. At breakfast, Olivia Crane was back on duty. Mask reset, voice bright. Yet, when she saw them again, her expression flickered, like someone touching a wound not yet healed. She turned away quickly, focusing on a group of executives near the bar. Alana watched. "She's trying to bury it," she said softly. "Pretend last night never happened." "Let's see how deep she's willing to dig," Miles replied. They spent the morning quietly observing. Every gesture, every tone. They noted who was offered extra service, who was ignored. It didn't take long to see the pattern. Certain passengers got smiles and jokes. Others got curt nods and closed lips. By noon, whispers had spread. Some passengers had seen the video uploaded overnight, the confrontation from first class. Though names weren't yet attached, the clip was already gaining traction online. Olivia had no idea. Then, at lunch, the first confrontation of the day arrived. A middle-aged woman of color, traveling alone, politely asked for a menu. Olivia glanced at her ticket and sighed. "I'll get to you after the premium guests," she said. Her tone, syrupy and sharp. Miles and Alana exchanged a look. The woman smiled politely, refusing to rise. "It's fine," she said. "I can wait." Her voice trembled just enough to reveal how much it wasn't fine. Alana stood slowly, her voice calm but clear. "Excuse me, miss. You skipped her. She was next." Olivia froze, tray in hand. For a heartbeat, the whole car went silent. "I beg your pardon?" Olivia asked. "You heard me," Alana said. She asked first, a few passengers turned. Phones lifted discreetly, Olivia's cheeks flushed. "Please, sit down, ma'am. This is not your concern." "It is," Alana said. "Because yesterday, you said policy decides who sits where. Today, it decides who eats when. Interesting policy." "Miles," Olivia said suddenly, misreading the situation. "You're with her?" He nodded. "Yes, ma'am." All the way, the conductor appeared again, drawn by the rising voices. This time, he didn't look confused. He looked tired. He knew what was coming. "Is there a problem?" he asked. Olivia turned, her tone suddenly sweet again. "Just another misunderstanding." The woman at the table looked down, whispering, "Thank you," to Alana. The conductor sighed. "Let's all stay calm, please," but it was too late. Passengers were whispering, recording. The younger attendant from last night whispered something to Olivia, too low to hear, but her face hardened. She turned on Alana. "You people are looking for trouble." The words hung in the air. Heavy and ugly, Miles stood. The gentle warmth vanished from his face. He looked directly at Olivia. "Ma'am, I'd choose your next words carefully." The conductor held up his hands. "Everyone, please, let's not, too late." Someone's video light blinked red again. It would only take a few minutes for the next clip to go viral. Alana sat down slowly. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "That's 2 incidents on record in less than 24 hours. Pattern confirmed," Miles said quietly. "Let's make it official." They excused themselves, heading toward the staff corridor. A maintenance worker, unaware of their mission, nodded politely as they passed. Behind a locked panel door, Miles slid out a thin folder marked NTB Field Case 47-9. He signed their initials under the timestamp. Alana began recording voice notes. Second incident. Staff, Olivia Crane. Behavior, escalated bias, verbal aggression, repeat conduct within 24 hours. Evidence, confirmed passenger videos, verbal witness accounts. She closed the recorder, exhaled. "That should be enough for a preliminary review." "Not yet," Miles said. "We need her to double down. Show intent. And if she doesn't..." He glanced toward the dining car, where Olivia's voice floated back down the hall. "She will." That night snow began to fall. The Regal Express slowed as it climbed the mountain pass. The dining car buzzed softly, cutlery clinking, muffled laughter. It could have been peaceful, until Olivia stopped beside their table again. "Good evening," she said coolly. "Enjoying your stay?" Miles met her gaze. "Best trip we've had in years." She leaned in slightly. "I've been told the company doesn't tolerate passengers who disrupt the atmosphere." Alana smiled thinly. "Good, then you'll fit right in." Olivia's expression cracked, one heartbeat of pure fury, before she turned and walked away. Miles whispered, "That's intent." Alana nodded. "Let's see how she handles a little daylight." Outside, wind howled through the mountain canyons. Inside, the quiet war was just beginning to turn public. The storm hit around noon the next day. Not the kind that carried rain, but the kind that shredded reputations. By the time the Regal Express reached Denver, the videos had exploded online. Passengers had uploaded multiple clips. Olivia's tone, her words, her dismissive smirk. Hashtags bloomed across social media. Yek train justice, Yek Regal Express racism, Yek service in shame. The rail company's public relations team was scrambling, but they had no idea the 2 people sitting quietly in cabin 7A and 7B were federal investigators. Inside the observation car, Miles and Alana kept their composure. The train was quieter today. Fewer conversations, fewer smiles. People recognized them now, not by name, but as the couple in the video. Alana looked up from her phone. "It's gone national," she said softly. "News anchors are calling it a luxury line discrimination scandal." Miles sipped his coffee. "Then we're on schedule." A faint smirk crossed her face. "You always did love dramatic timing." He looked toward the end of the car where Olivia stood, pale and stiff. She'd heard too. Whispers among the crew, phones buzzing behind closed doors. Her perfect mask had cracks now, spiderweb thin but spreading fast. The conductor approached nervously. "Mr. and Mrs. Darden," he said, lowering his voice. "There's a message for you in the staff office." "From headquarters." Alana raised an eyebrow. "Headquarters?" "Yes, ma'am." The NTB emblems on the envelope. Olivia's head snapped toward them. "NTB?" she repeated, frowning. As in, but they were already walking past her. Inside the staff compartment, the air was thick with unease. 2 officers in dark blue suits stood waiting. NTB field agents. They nodded respectfully. "Inspector Darden," one said quietly, "we received your transmission. Evidence confirmed, national attention high. We're authorizing full exposure." Miles exchanged a look with Alana. "Meaning?" The agent smiled faintly. "Meaning you don't have to hide anymore." Alana folded her arms. "About time." When they returned to the first-class car, the atmosphere was electric. Dozens of eyes followed them. Olivia straightened, forcing her professional smile. "Back to your seats?" she asked sharply. "We'll be arriving in a few hours." Miles stopped in the aisle. "Actually, we're staying right here." Alana's tone was calm but carried authority. "Ms. Crane, we're with the National Transportation Board." The color drained from Olivia's face. Passengers went silent. Phones lifted again. Miles held up a small leather badge case and flipped it open. The NTB seal gleamed under the lights. "We've been investigating multiple reports of discriminatory behavior by staff on this train line," he said. "Your name came up more than once." Olivia took a step back. This is absurd." Alana's voice remained steady. "What's absurd is treating paying passengers as suspects. What's absurd is pretending policy gives you permission to humiliate people." The younger attendant, the one who had hesitated days earlier, stood frozen near the galley. Her lips parted. Then she whispered, "She told me to do it." She said, "Some passengers need reminders of their place." A collective gasp rippled through the car. Olivia's eyes widened. "That's a lie!" But the recording was already playing. The attendant had kept her own proof. The voice was unmistakable. Olivia Crane, cold and clipped, saying those exact words. The conductor reappeared, his face pale. "Ms. Crane, I think you should come with me." Olivia turned toward him, trembling. "You can't now," he said quietly. As they led her away, she looked back, not with remorse but disbelief. The empire of control she'd built over countless journeys had collapsed in minutes. Alana watched her go, silent. Miles placed a hand on her shoulder. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Just thinking about how many others she's done this to." He exhaled. "And how many didn't have anyone watching?" Outside the window, the mountains began to fade into plains again. The storm was ending, but its echo was only beginning to roll through the country. By late afternoon, the NTB's official statement hit every major outlet. Federal investigators confirmed systemic misconduct aboard the Regal Express, immediate disciplinary action, and industry-wide. Compliance reviews are underway. The story had turned from a viral moment into a national reckoning. Miles and Alana sat together as the train rolled toward the Capitol, quiet amidst the noise of headlines and flashing phones. Finally, Alana said, "You think this changes anything?" Miles looked out the window at the endless rail stretching forward. "Change doesn't come easy, but it starts somewhere, and sometimes—" He paused, a small smile forming. "It starts with a train ride." By dawn, the news cycle had devoured the Regal Express story. Every outlet ran the same image. Olivia Crane, escorted off the train, her face pale and tight. The world had found its villain. But Miles and Alana knew better. This wasn't just about one woman. It was about a system built on polished smiles and invisible hierarchies. When the train pulled into Union Station, reporters swarmed the platform. Cameras flashed as passengers disembarked. Some applauded the inspectors quietly as they passed. Others just stared, unsure whether to feel shame or admiration. Alana kept her chin high. "Smile," she whispered. "Let them see calm, not anger." Miles nodded. "Calm's louder anyway." Outside, federal agents were already waiting. They whisked the couple away through a side entrance into an NTB field office, a small glass building overlooking the tracks. Inside, the tone was different. Serious, contained, humming with purpose. Director Paulson met them at the door. Tall, silver-haired, his badge catching the light. "Congratulations," he said simply. "You just exposed a culture of discrimination we've been chasing for years." Alana folded her arms. It's not just her, Director. There are patterns in crew rotations, service upgrades, complaint handling. This goes higher, Paulson nodded. We know. That's why Washington wants this classified as a systemic investigation. Miles exhaled slowly. That means oversight across all rail carriers. Exactly. Within days, subpoenas rolled out. NTB investigators spread across the country, auditing luxury lines, reviewing passenger footage, cross-checking reports. What they found was ugly. Ignored complaints, falsified records, even internal memos warning staff to avoid sensitive demographics in premium cabins. The Regal Express wasn't an exception. It was a mirror. Olivia Crane's name became shorthand for arrogance. The company tried to distance itself, releasing a statement full of apologies and corporate promises. But the damage was done. Sponsors pulled funding, executives resigned, and through it all, Miles and Alana became the quiet faces of accountability. Weeks later, they were called to testify before a joint transportation committee in D.C. The hearing room was packed. Journalists, advocates, and survivors of similar mistreatment. When Alana took the oath, the room fell silent. She adjusted the microphone, her voice steady but warm. "We didn't come to shame a single person," she began. "We came to reveal how everyday bias hides behind procedure, how a smile can be sharper than a knife when it's aimed downward." She paused, scanning the faces before her. "This isn't about first-class seats. It's about human dignity and who we think deserves it." Applause broke out, restrained at first, then swelling until the chair had to call for order. Behind the scenes, rail executives met in closed rooms, drafting new rules under government supervision. Mandatory diversity and sensitivity training became law for all federally licensed transport companies. Every complaint now required digital timestamping and third-party review. A new task force was created, the Passenger Equity Board, co-chaired by Alana herself. Miles declined the media offers. "We didn't do it for headlines," he told her one night, watching a news recap on TV. "We did it so people can sit down and not feel like they need permission." Alana smiled. "That's the thing about justice. It never travels first class, but it always arrives. Months passed. The world moved on, but the echo remained. People started recording more, speaking up more. Travel companies revised their policies, afraid of becoming the next headline. The Regal Express eventually resumed service, under new management, new staff, and new rules. But passengers still whispered about that couple, the ones who'd changed everything. Sometimes truth doesn't come with banners or medals. Sometimes it rides quietly, in a suit and a notebook, holding the system accountable one trip at a time. That winter, Miles and Alana boarded another train. Undercover again, new names, new mission. Snow fell softly outside as the conductor greeted them with genuine warmth. "Welcome aboard," he said. For the first time in a long while, Alana smiled back and meant it. "Thank you," she said. "It's good to be here." The train pulled away, a silver arrow through white silence, carrying two quiet revolutionaries toward the next stop in their never-ending journey for justice. A year later, the world of travel looked different. Trains still thundered across steel bridges, planes still crossed the skies, ships still cut through the waves, but something had shifted. People noticed service now, not the food or the linen, but the way they were treated. And somewhere, in a quiet Washington office, Miles and Alana Darden watched the ripple effect unfold. A wall of framed headlines lined the corridor outside their workspace. Regal Express scandal sparks federal overhaul. New passenger equity laws take effect. Couple behind historic rail investigation speaks out on justice and dignity. Miles paused at the last one. His reflection overlapped the photo of him and Alana shaking hands with the NTB director. "We didn't mean to become symbols," he said softly. Alana smiled, closing a folder. "No one means to. Symbols choose you when the truth does." They were still inspectors, though their jobs had changed. Instead of undercover missions, they now trained others, teaching young recruits how to spot subtle bias, document misconduct, and protect the people who didn't have power. During one seminar, a nervous new recruit asked, "Do you ever regret going public?" Alana thought for a long moment. "Regret? No," she said. "Pain, yes. It's hard to stand up in a room that doesn't want to see you. But the moment you do, the room changes forever." The class went silent. Then one trainee, barely 20, voice trembling, said, "My mom saw your story. She stopped hiding her accent at work after that." Alana's throat tightened. She just nodded. "That's why we do it." Meanwhile, the Passenger Equity Board, the agency born from the Regal Express case, grew into a national force. Every major carrier now had to publish quarterly fairness reports. Independent watchdogs conducted undercover checks. The NTB even built a digital complaint system so passengers could upload videos directly to a review hub. Justice had become part of the travel map, but not everyone applauded. Some called it overreach. Others said the Dardens had ruined customer service with fear. Miles heard it all quietly as he watched trains pull out of the station from his office window. He smiled to himself. "If fairness scares them," he said one night to Alana, "then maybe fear's overdue." That summer, they received an invitation. The Regal Express relaunch ceremony. New management, new protocols, new faces. The event would mark the train's official rebirth. They hesitated. But curiosity and closure won. When they boarded, a young steward greeted them with a wide, genuine smile. "Welcome aboard," she said warmly. "It's an honor to have you." Her name tag read Naomi. Her eyes were bright, her voice sincere. No scripts, no suspicion, just humanity. Halfway through the trip, Naomi approached again. "There's someone who'd like to speak with you," she said softly. From the next car stepped the former conductor, the same man who had intervened that night. His uniform was different now, plainer, humbler. He extended his hand. "I stayed with the company," he said quietly. "They made me part of the Diversity Council. Thought you should know. It's different now." Alana smiled, shaking his hand. "That's all we ever wanted." Later, as the train raced through the night, the city lights glowing like distant stars, Miles took Alana's hand. "You think people will remember?" he asked. She looked out the window, watching the world blur by. "They'll remember enough. The rest, they'll feel," he chuckled softly. "You sound like a poet." "I sound like someone who's tired of fighting for permission to belong," she said, resting her head on his shoulder. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft, silent, cleansing. When the Regal Express crossed the same bridge where their journey had begun a year before, it wasn't just a return. It was a circle closed, and in that moment, no cameras, no headlines, just the rhythm of wheels on rails, they allowed themselves to breathe. Because justice, real justice, doesn't roar. It whispers through quiet triumphs, one car, one journey, one heart at a time.